The mother of a severely disabled Auckland woman who lost her respite care after the Laura Fergusson Trust announced its sudden closure still doesn't know when she'll receive a much-needed break from the new provider, Spectrum Care. In February, Laura Fergusson Rehabilitation in Auckland, Waikato and Whanganui announced it was closing its doors, leaving families needing rehabilitation and respite care in the lurch. Now it's emerged from tomorrow, Spectrum Care will take over respite facilities in Auckland and Waikato, with the Wellington Laura Fergusson Trust, a separate entity, taking over respite services in Whanganui. Catherine Hutton filed this report.
Cran Radford's daughter Skylar suffers from Angelman syndrome, cerebral palsy and epilepsy. She can't talk or walk unaided and is totally reliant on her mother. If she's not in her wheelchair, she likes to crawl. She's also a bit of an escape artist and can climb, breaking window latches to get out. As a result, many of the windows and doors are reinforced glass. The section is fully fenced. Cran cannot let her out of her sight. One of the features of Angelman syndrome is that they need very little sleep. Skylar can go 6 days and nights without sleeping. As her primary caregiver and sole parent, Cran is exhausted. In the last 2 days, she's had just 6 hours sleep.
When I'm so exhausted, what I tend to do is sleep top and tail in her room. So even though she's awake, I'm getting a 15-minute power nap because I'm just about to fall over.
For the past 4 years, the respite she was getting was a lifeline, allowing Cran to sleep up to 30 hours at a stretch.
We were getting respite once a fortnight, which was great. It was great because it had its problems, the respite, but I knew I could put my head down and catch up on sleep and still ready to be functioning again.
But with the announcement of Laura Fergusson's closure, Cran was given just 4 days' notice that the respite would stop because the bed was needed by someone who was moving out of Laura Fergusson. Service providers, she explains, are paid the same, regardless of the level of disability they care for.
They're gonna choose people that need less cares, people who can feed themselves sometimes, dress themselves, and so less cares means less staff, more profit.
Spectrum says it's able to provide respite for almost 80 families in Auckland and Hamilton, and all the existing frontline staff are coming across to work for them. Independent disability advocate Jane Carrigan says while that's good news for families who have gone 5 months without respite, there's a wider issue about the problems families like Cran's have accessing help.
For a large organisation like Spectrum to have been given, 3,500 respite bed nights for 80 people, that is just ludicrous.
But the Trust has only granted Spectrum a 3-month lease on the existing site. After that, it's on a rolling month-by-month lease until the end of the year when Spectrum have to find new premises. We wanted to ask Laura Fergusson Trust what its future plans were for the Epsom site and why Spectrum was able to provide respite services when they couldn't, but they didn't respond to our interview requests. The Ministry of Health also declined to be interviewed, but in a statement says it's confident Spectrum will continue providing services even if it's not in Epsom.
The Ministry's contract with Spectrum requires continuous service delivery. Spectrum is also very experienced at relocating services such as these when they believe it is necessary to do so. The Ministry's priority through this period has been ensuring clients have had a seamless transition and continue to receive high-quality support. We've been working regularly with the Trust, clients and their whānau and the local NASC to ensure this.
Jane Carrigan says the ongoing uncertainty creates stress for families who have already gone months without any respite.
That is an awful way for anyone to live, much less for a service provider to provide a very high level of care for people not knowing whether they're going to be there the next month or not. If Spectrum has to move somewhere else, it's all going to take time, and that will be a period of months that people will again go without respite. It's just wrong.
She says it's imperative that the Ministry step in, take the property off the Trust's hands and refurbish what's there.
We do not have rehab facilities in Auckland. We do not have respite facilities in Auckland. We do not have purpose-built supported living property in Auckland, such that we can afford to just abandon that piece of real estate in Green Lane. It is central to the needs of the wider Auckland region, and it absolutely must stay.
She says they've been told Skylar will have respite for 3 days a week at Laura Fergusson, but as yet there's no start date, which is causing enormous anxiety. Cran says life is torturous.
I'm blessed that Skylar's always smiling. She's lovely, delightful, and she likes having fun, but the sleep deprivation, you just don't know what you're going to get, you know, and yeah, it's hard, sorry. It's like just very busy, but it's around the clock.
The Associate Health Minister, Jenny Salisa, says Laura Fergusson Trust made the decision to close and arrangements have been made to relocate its residents. She says Disability Support Services received a record amount of funding in this year's budget. For Checkpoint, ko Catherine Hutton, Tēnei.